Whenever you see someone on the internet with nice cars, a nice house, or nice things, and they're talking about how they do what they do, it's worth being very, very skeptical. And today, I want to make a video talking about privilege because there's a lot of times where you'll see people saying that they hustled and did all these things, but in reality, they might have started a little closer to third base than home plate. And I wanted to talk about the privilege that I've enjoyed in my life. And it's not what you'd normally expect or you what might normally see. But my parents were incredible. They still are. They're great and involved in my life. But they didn't hand me a big pile of money or a trust fund to go and do what I want to do. They taught me about personal finance. They taught me about Jesus. They taught me about what it meant to work hard and what it meant to retire eventually. But they didn't just hand me the end result or the outcome. What did bless me beyond measure was the fact that I was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1985. And what that meant was that I graduated high school in 2004. I actually just went back to a high school car show at North Gwinnett High School where I went to school. And 20 years ago when I graduated there, I never knew what was going to happen. And there were a lot of other exotic cars there, but only one Bugatti, and everybody else that owned an exotic car was not an alumni of that school. They've just moved into the area since then. And so I think I'm the only Bugatti owner to graduate from my school, but that didn't really mean anything at all other than the timing. I went on from there to go to Georgia Tech, the Georgia Institute of Technology, and at the time, the Hope Scholarship in Georgia allowed me to go there for free. So rather than racking up $150,000 in student loans to achieve a very similar education there or elsewhere, if I was coming in from out of state or anything like that, I actually was able to use additional scholarships and come out ahead every semester. And so that was a huge blessing that just put me out into the world with a lot less burden than having all this student loan to pay back. Now, my parents appreciated that as well because they wanted to help me figure out how to pay for college. And in fact, since they didn't have to participate in that regard, they actually bought me an incredible car. They bought me a 2000 Audi B5 S4 at the time, worth about 20,000 bucks. And I drove it on my first New York to LA drive with a buddy of mine after we'd graduated from high school. And so that was incredible. And that car is actually what became the down payment on the first Lamborghini Gallardo that I bought for supercar rentals. So my parents absolutely helped me out there, and I loved that car. In fact, I bought a very similar Audi S4 for Car Trek 5, and we compared our dream cars, in that case, my manual LP640 coupe, to our first cars. That was my first real car that I loved so much. Before that, I had a inherited 150,000 mile Land Rover Discovery that I got from my dad. He bought that new and driven it for a long time, and I drove it until my mom didn't notice that it was overheating and she blew up the engine. But I've chased that one around. I think it actually got dismantled at a local salvage yard. But graduated from high school in '04, going to college, I mean, I graduated in 2008. Now, in 2008, we were in the depths of the recession here in the United States. And so that meant unemployment was at all-time highs. In fact, unemployment for fresh college graduates was extraordinarily high, more than 55%. So I had 6 roommates most of college, and out of the 6 of us, only one of us got a real job, and it wasn't me. Now, I'd already started the exotic car rental company, and I thought that's what I wanted to keep doing, but all the interviews I had, they all went nowhere. So it was really, really hard to get a job, and if you did, our average starting salaries were about 50,000 bucks. Now that sounds terrible, and it was. It was hard those first few years, no matter what you were doing, to find any ways to get ahead. But what it did mean was that, I got married just a little bit out of college. And then a couple of years after that, we were in a position to start shopping for our first house, which just happened to be in 2010. And every house we looked at was being short sold by hundreds of thousands of dollars or was in foreclosure well under what it had sold for just a few years prior. And so we were able to get an extraordinarily good deal on our first house. And over the course of owning it for the next 8 years, we gained about $250,000 in equity. Now, I'm not a real estate investor. I'm not somebody who knew anything about that then or even now, but that was something that I didn't earn, but that I had just a short while after college. Now, additionally, since I wasn't having to pay down these massive student loans, everything that I invested went into one of the most fertile seasons of the stock market's existence in history. And so from 2008, when I graduated, until 2018, that first 10 years of my career, the stock market returned an average of 13%, meaning every dollar that you invested effectively doubled twice. So if you take those 3 variables, not having a bunch of student loans, being able to more than quadruple every dollar that you're able to save and invest, and the fact that your first house appreciates by a couple $100,000, that's about $1 million of net worth at the age of 28 that I was just handed by effectively the state of Georgia for being born. Now, of course, I didn't have all that. I'd spend it all on other things and cars and things like that. But I was in a much better financial situation than I would have been otherwise if I'd just been born a few years earlier or a few years later. Now, when you think about the idea of $1 million of net worth at the age of 28, and you extrapolate that throughout your working career, even without additional savings of just what that means in retirement, $1 million at 28 at an 8% return to age 60 is $20 million. At a 10% return is $30 million. At a 12% return is $50 million. And so if I retire with less than 20 or $30 million at age 60, which I'm well on track to underperform and do, I will have underperformed for the privilege that I should enjoy for just having been born where I was and when I was. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my parents, nothing to do with anything that I could control. Larger, bigger moving macroeconomic circumstances allowed me to have all these advantages. Now, of course, not everybody my age is in that position. I'm not either, but it does make it a lot easier for me to get ahead. And as you're looking at whether or not you're going to be able to measure up to all the content creators and the people that you follow and the content that you consume, it's worth understanding whether or not you're starting with the exact same advantages that they might be. Now, most of my net worth has come from heavily leveraging very expensive cars that happen to go in the right direction value-wise, continuing to allow real estate and other investments to appreciate. But again, all of that was made so much easier because I wasn't servicing high interest student loan debt. I was dealing with an economy that was generally favorable, and it put us in a better position. We bought our second house for that to go up even more. And so all I want to say is that I had a lot of advantages at my moment in time. And no matter where you're at, you will have those too. They'll be different than what I enjoyed. They'll be different than what your parents enjoyed. You may have higher earning potential. You may have greater mobility up the corporate ladder. You may find that the commercial real estate market collapses in 2 years and you're able to buy that really, really inexpensively, something I wouldn't even know how to start trying to do. But if you keep your eyes open and you also have some consideration as you do find success and as you do move through your career and move through the world, it's a lot easier to kind of have that context and step back and say, you know what? I feel like I did some things right. I know I did a lot of things wrong, but I can also point to some things that I didn't do right or wrong, but that just simply happened that allowed me to achieve what I have. And so this is really designed to be a very unflexing video to just let everybody know and that wherever you're at in life, whatever you're looking to do, whatever you're hoping to accomplish, and whatever your goals are, some of the things that allow it to happen will be stuff you do, the hustle, the drive that you've got, but a whole lot of it's going to be the stuff that's outside of your control. And it doesn't mean that the sky is falling and rates are high and inflation and everything else that we worry about right now is going to keep you down. It just means that you've got to focus on leveraging the right opportunities to use what's there and hopefully swing well beyond it and find the success that you're looking for. And today's video is brought to you by the Ticket Clinic. The Ticket Clinic has been one of our longest running sponsors here on VinWiki. Their nationwide network of attorneys can help you fight a speeding ticket no matter where you get it. They've got brick and mortar offices in Georgia, Florida, and California, but lawyers everywhere. And fighting a ticket with a local attorney is the secret to success. So check them out now at the link in the description below to fight your ticket with the Ticket Clinic.